Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, last class we were seeing these types of precipitation after understanding the different forms of precipitation. The first type of precipitation is frontal precipitation, that I have explained it in the previous class. The last frontal type, that is occluded frontal precipitation, where three different masses meet together and form at the same level. They are called occluded frontal precipitation. If they meet at different location, then they start circulating, and that type of precipitation is called as cyclonic precipitation. This cyclone has a different name in different countries. In India, we call it as cyclone. In US, they call it as hurricane, twister. In Southeast Asia, they call it as typhoon, right? And most of these tropical cyclone, they all starting on the tropical zone of the earth, and always they move towards the North Pole. Since these three different masses starts rotating in a circular motion in anti-clockwise direction, right, the center mass gets compressed, and the always, right, whichever rotates, the final shape it attains is circular, right, like all our planets, because they have rotated for millions and millions and millions of years. Whatever the irregular shape, if it rotates for millions and millions of years, self-rotation as well as over a fixed path, they attain this shape of circle or globe. Similarly, the cyclone also attains the shape of circular, especially the central portion called as eye of the cyclone. Now we are going to see only about this tropical cyclone. There are ex-tropical cyclone, that means the cyclone which are created outside this tropical belt of the earth system. They are also strong anti-clockwise movement, and also it moves towards the North Pole. I told in the last class that Coriolis force, or the force due to the 23.5 degree inclination of the earth with respect to vertical axis, creates a force called Coriolis force, and this Coriolis force attracts all the cyclones towards North Pole. And this eye, which is the center mass of our occluded frontal precipitation, because of the circular anti-clockwise motions outside, they get compressed. Right? When they get compressed, what happens? Suppose if I make a cross-sectional drawing on any diameter of this cyclone, there are three parameters. One is wind speed, pressure, and rainfall. The center line shows the center of the cyclone, and the portion where everything is plain, no high pressure, no wind speed. See, the pressure is very low. That's why we call that as low pressure. Low pressure is at the eye. Outside it is heavy pressure, but inside the cyclone it's a low pressure. That's why we say that a cyclone is converted into a low pressure, right? So this pressure is very small in the eye. The diameter of the eye varies from 25 to 50 kilometers, right? And then the wind speed is also very low, but naturally pressure is inversely proportional to wind speed, or wind speed is inversely proportional to pressure. In the eye, both are low, so it is against the equilibrium. So the nature protects this inequilibrium by heavy rainfall on the diameter of that eye. Right? You can see this, the rainfall intensity is from the top. Inside the eye there is no rainfall, but outside you can see heavy rainfall. So what happens? This cyclone moves from one place, from the tropical region towards North Pole. While moving at any location, initially the wind speed is very low, right? Let us say this is the direction in which wind speed is moving. So initially the wind speed is low, 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 low. Suddenly the wind speed, gusty winds, everything is starts flying. Then suddenly for 5 to 10 minutes, everything is calm. Not even a single dust is flying. That is the time period during which the eye is crossing that particular location. After that crossing of the eye, again suddenly there will be a gusty winds follow associated with heavy rainfall. Then the wind speed slowly reduces and comes to the normal wind speed on that location. That is why people say that there will be always a gusty winds before the cyclone and after the cyclone. Here the cyclone, what they refer is the eye of the cyclone. Okay. Cyclone provides huge quantity of moisture over the earth. Most of our eastern side of our India receives rainfall mainly due to cyclonic precipitation from Bay of Bengal. Right? So anti-clockwise, anticyclones are very less. That means they are all large regions of high pressure, whereas cyclones are low pressure, and anti-clockwise circular movement of winds, whereas anticyclones are high pressure with clockwise wind, but still this also moves towards the northern hemisphere, but there is no much number of anticyclones created. Most of the circular winds are cyclone over the globe. So this is second type of rainfall. First one is frontal, second is cyclonic precipitation, and the third one is orographic precipitation. Right? Orographic precipitation is when the cloud which is bearing moisture is moving towards the land, and there is no dry mass to get attracted it to get the rainfall. But suddenly there is a huge high altitude mountain. So then what happens? This mountain ranges stops these clouds, right? And there is an exchange of anions and cations. And because of stopping of this moisture, there is moisture clouds, there is a rainfall. And such rainfalls are called as orographic precipitation. Okay, so this is third type. The fourth type is called as thunderstorms, right? Whatever we have seen so far, they are all gradual exchange of heat between one clouds to another clouds. Whereas, and there is no thunderstorms either in convective precipitation or orographic, or convective is nothing but your frontal precipitation, right? Whereas in thunderstorms, thunderstorms happens in dry area where the moisture content suddenly increases, especially in summer, we get suddenly thunderstorms. What is that? Thunderstorms are a local phenomenon. Locally, due to warming of clouds at lower altitude, when there is a warm, they try to move always upwards, right? That is why when you heat water, first the top water gets heated up. It's not like that. The water which gets heated up at the bottom, they try to move up because so many natural processes becomes lighter. So when the mass is light, it moves always upwards. So this warm air gets lifted up and cold air comes into that place. When these two are happening in a small local phenomena, these two try to hit each other and exchange heat. But the exchange of heat is not gradual, it is sudden, right? So that means it is isothermal process, When there is isothermal process, there is a sudden exchange of heat, there is liberation of energy. And that is what we hear in the form of lightning. Right? So that is thunder storms. There are three major stages in a thunderstorms. The first stage is called as cumulus. That means it is the formation. That means there is a strong updraft of winds from low level up to 25,000 feet, and the vertical wind will move at a speed of 56 kilometers to 60 kilometers per hour. But the area is very small. The area of this thunderstorm, that is aerial extent of this thunderstorm, and the duration of these thunderstorms is also very less. Right? So then the cumulus stage, all moisture starts moving up. When this moisture, not moisture, the wind, dry wind is moving up. When the dry wind is moving up, it not only moves only the dry, it also takes away all the dust particles. Right? And as it moves at higher and higher altitude, it also picks up certain moisture at higher altitude, and water, that is crystalline process, goes on increasing as it progress from low level to higher level. So the duration of this process is 10 to 15 minutes. That is starting of my thunderstorms. The second stage is called maturing stage. Right? Maturing stage is the winds which have gone up to 25,000 feet, they further still move up to a feet height of 40,000 to 45,000 feet. When it goes up to 40 to 45,000 feet, the temperature is at minus degree centigrades. So after that it cannot go, because whatever the winds going on, the moisture which they have gone, they all get condensed. So once they get condensed, you can see the ice crystal formation at an altitude of 35 to 40,000 feet. Once ice crystal formation is made, then it cannot move further up. They start falling down due to gravitational force. See, in this maturing stage, both the process are happening. First one is still the winds are going upwards, whereas from higher altitude ice crystals are coming down. Right? This is where two different temperature particles meet together. Right? And there is sudden exchange of heat between these two bodies, and that is where you get the thunderstorms. Once you get the thunderstorms, that means energy is exchanged between both the bodies. All the bodies will have same temperature, and every water molecule start falling down towards the earth, and you get a rain. So that is what we call it as thunderstorms. The last stage where everything becomes water and falls on the earth is called as dissipating stage. So these are all different types of precipitation happens on our earth. But this precipitation is a single phenomenon, 1 day, 1 hour. The duration we don't know. But there is a relationship between one time rainfall to another time rainfall, depending upon the frequency, at what intervals they happen, and what causes them the rainfall, whether it is adiabatic, convective precipitation, or frontal precipitation, or orographic precipitation. Based on their observation over a period of time, we call them as monsoon. Most of the monsoon in India, especially southwest monsoon, is due to frontal precipitation. You cannot see, you have stayed almost 3 years in Mumbai, you could have not seen any thunders, right, when it is raining, because the exchange of heat is gradual. At the same time, if you go to eastern side, especially during summer when there is a rainfall, first you hear the sound, then you see the lightning, and then rainfall. Okay, that means it has gone from cumulus stage, maturing stage, and then rainfall. There, the rainfall is due to isothermal, that is thunderstorms. Then at higher altitude locations, right, especially on the what do you say, that the cliffs of Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Himalayan, everywhere you get certain amount of rainfall here and there. That is mainly due to orographic precipitation. Then these processes repeats every year with fixed time duration, and based on their observation and duration, the process of precipitation is classified into different monsoons. The major monsoon in India is southwest monsoon. That means the southwest monsoon is mainly between June to September. The, the evaporated water from Indian Ocean, right? That is called Indian El Nino effect. This evaporated water from the Indian Ocean starts moving towards the land side, right? And first they hit the southernmost tip of our country and then start falling the rainfall during the first May month, June 1, right, or May 31st at Kerala. And then they slowly progress inland. Because of this high altitude Western Ghats, it could not cross the Western Ghats, so you will have heavy rainfall only on west coast during southwest monsoon. Then it moves slowly from Trivandrum, then Mangalore, then Goa, then it comes to Mumbai during the time period of June 10. That's where we start realizing the monsoon rainfall. After Mumbai, there is a gap. That's the end of our Sahyadri. Then after that, the rainfall takes a turn, 90-degree turn, and goes in between Vindhyachal and our Sahyadri towards eastern side. When there is a one leg setup, monsoon hits on June 1st in Kerala coast, same time 1 or 2 days before, there is another wing which hits our Andaman Nicobar Islands. That is also a southwest monsoon strong current, and this current also travels towards our north, and at the same time period when it reaches this Himalayan region, the first leg which has given sufficient rainfall in our west coast also reaches there. So these two legs meet at our Meghalaya, right? So whatever the moisture left over at this point is fallen there, because it is two different legs of same monsoon which they have diverted from Indian Ocean. That is why every year in Meghalaya, Cherrapunji, you have very high rainfall. After leaving all the moisture at this corner, then it takes a turn because of high altitude mountain regions, and travels all along our Himalayan region. But while traveling all along the Himalayan region, it picks up the clouds, picks up very small amount of rainfall or moisture. That is where it falls on Jaipur region, that is in desert region. And then after this, when it reaches our Sindh river basin, right, then there is a strong dry current from west, which makes our monsoon currents to take diversion, and then it comes back in the same direction, right? Again, it moves towards below our Shivalik hills. Then after coming to Assam, all this region, then the current moves towards our south. The 1st June, the wind is from southwest direction, and we call this monsoon as southwest monsoon. This southwest monsoon has now traveled southwest towards central India, then eastern India, then it went to north, took a diversion. When it comes back, the time period is almost November. That means it starts with June, right? June, July, right? Then this is called onset of monsoon. And the red lines, right, that where it starts September in Thar Desert. This is retreating. When it is retreating towards major portion of the India, the wind appears to be coming from northeast, right? And that is why that monsoon is called as northeast monsoon. So we started with southwest monsoon and then ended up with northeast monsoon. So during southwest monsoon, the east coast is called as rain shadow region. You will not get rainfall in Tamil Nadu, Andhra coastal region, Bhubaneswar or Orissa, West Bengal. This during monsoon, southwest monsoon. But during northeast monsoon, all this region gets rainfall, and at that time period there is no rainfall on the west coast. So the west coast become rain shadow region for northeast monsoon, and east coast becomes rain shadow region for southwest monsoon, right? So this is two different monsoon, and the time period between these two are called transition, right? Then we have winter and then summer. Then again, the next year monsoon starts after the summer. So this is about monsoon onset and retrieval. See, when you see the amount of rainfall which has fallen, you can see this. The amount of rainfall in the southwest monsoon, right? It starts from 250 mm in our western coast. This is average. Sometimes what happens, there are certain pockets where you get 4000 mm. See, Mumbai has an average annual rainfall of 2500 mm, that is 250 centimeters. But at the same time, the other east, they are all rain shadow region, they don't receive enough rainfall. Then the average rainfall goes on reducing from Mumbai western, that is the valley between Tapi river and our Mumbai region. It goes towards north. You can see that Meghalaya, Cherrapunji again 2500, 3000. In Meghalaya it is 11,000 mm, right? And then it goes on reducing towards Thar Desert, and you can see in Thar Desert it is an average of 200 mm, that is 20 centimeter. Then it comes up in eastern side, the average rainfall is around 100 mm, and in some inner pockets it is only 750 mm. So this is to give a fair idea on how average rainfall is happening over the India. This average rainfall is nothing but the amount of rainfall fallen every day in a year and taken the average for the past 30 years, right? Normal rainfall means it is the average of past 30 years data. Okay, so this is just monsoon rainfall outside our civil engineering department. Right? See, civil engineers, especially water services, are very innovative and very crazy people. They say that it's raining. When we see and when we read about a first process, the next thing comes to our mind is the quantity. Right? How much is this? Suppose, for example, if you see a reservoir, the first question it comes to is how sorry, how deep it is, right? Then second one is when you know this how deep it is, the second question you ask is how much is this area? Similarly, when a hydrologist has observed this rainfall phenomena, then the next step they did was measurement. Initially, the measurement was carried out using a simple non-recording type. That means manual measurement. That is called as Simon rain gauge. That is called non-record. After with advancement of instrumentation, people have started now recording gauges, right? So this is a simple example of Simon's non-recording gauge. It has a funnel and a bottle with a pre-calibrated jar. So the diameter of this funnel is 5 inch, that is 127 mm, right, 12.7 centimeters. Whatever the rain catches in this 12.7 diameter funnel enters into this bottle, right? And then every day exactly 8:30 in the morning, the hydrologist person comes and he pours this water in a calibrated jar. The graduation tells you what is the depth of rainfall. So this depth per day is that daily rainfall. So in non-recording Simon's rain gauge, you can observe or you can measure only a 1 day rainfall. Or if you want every half an hour, then you have to go there every half an hour and measure it, which is manually not possible. So instrumentation has created a recording type. All recording type, there are several recording type, tipping bucket, siphon. In all these arrangements, there are two important instruments. First one is a clock driven chart, right? A clock driven chart means there is a mechanism which rotates depending upon the clock time, not 12 hours, 24 hours. And there is a chart which has time period from 8:30 in the morning today's to the next day 8:30 in the morning, or some charts are 0 time period to 0 time period. Now what we do, this is when you fix this chart, one round makes 1 day, right? So this chart makes one round for 1 day, and there is a mechanism with a pen, and this pen is at a fixed location touching the chart. When this chart is rotating, the pen will be making a line. When you are able to deflect this pen depending upon the amount of rainfall, then the pen starts recording, moving up from one place to another place, recording the intensity of rainfall. How you make this pen to deviate depending upon the rainfall? The first one is tipping bucket. What is this tipping bucket? This tipping bucket has again a funnel type arrangements on the top, and the rainfalls gets collected in a tipping bucket. And tipping bucket, this arm is connected to the pen. When there is no weight of water in the tipping bucket, the pen is at a constant level. But as the weight goes on increasing, right, this cup goes down and this pen goes up and gets recorded. This is one recording type rain gauge, right? This is a tipping. Second one is weighing bucket. Depending upon the weight, how much the pen gets moved up, right? The natural siphon, as the water level increases in a box, the pen also moves. It deflects the pen. When it reaches 10 mm quantity, then automatically the siphon connected to this works and it empties the bottle. Otherwise, what happens? It will start overflowing. So every 10 mm of the rainfall total cumulative, the pen comes back to the original condition. Then nowadays with radar and radio signals, we have this telemetric rain gauges, and also we have now this satellite method of radar measurement of rainfall, right? We have very powerful meteorological radars on east coast as well as on the west coast, which can measure the rainfall clouds of a diameter of radius of 250 kilometers. Right? For every 500 meters, you can see a radar which measures the rainfall. They measure the aerial extent of the rainfall also.